a one video stream. This I am. Whew! But anyways, this is gonna be a video from testing Triangles. I've watched one of their videos before. It was pretty good. It's about live service games. This is how Zenless Zone Zero manipulates you. Which I'm gonna assume it's about all gacha games, honestly, but we'll see.
Love them or hate them, mobile games are finally at a point where they are dominating the gaming industry, both in terms of revenue generated and player retention. This has been...
Let's talk about that real quick. Now, I know the video just started, but let me talk about that for a second. All I'm gonna say about that is, this always happens when anything gets a mainstream, and it starts marketing itself to a way bigger audience. If it just gets worse naturally, and that makes sense, because you have to make something that's digestible for everybody. Like, games were meant... Like, funny enough, games were supposed to be meant for kids, but, you know, Atari out here with Custer's Revenge, if you know, you know. But anyways, like, gaming going super popular and getting super mainstream now it has to be something that everybody can play. When can everybody can't play skill-based games. Like, I suck at Elden Ring, but I enjoy it. But everybody can't play Elden Ring. Everybody can play a game that you just spend money on, so you just go down your pay-to-win route instead, obviously. And that's what most of these mobile games are. Is pay to win. So they're gonna keep marketing that, and then these $60, $70 games think they can be mobile games and charge you crazy ass amounts for shit. I'm like, this ain't the same thing. The mobile game was free, bitch. The fuck wrong with y'all? Anyway.
True for some time now with games such as Clash of Clans, Candy Crush, and Pokemon Go, but only recently has it felt like the words mobile game don't really have the same meaning they once had. It used to be a term of derision. A mobile game wasn't a real game.
Oh yeah,
you
that
could
was
never
real.
play a real game on your phone, but that's not true anymore, because with the recent releases from MiHoYo, the China-based game developer, mobile games have evolved into something with more...
I get where he's going with this, but I still don't treat mobile games as real games. Like, I'm not gonna lie. I love Wuthering Waves, but I still not gonna treat it as a real game. It's a game I enjoy. I'm not gonna treat it as a real game, though.
More parody to console games. This studio has put together some of the most revolutionary games the mobile market has ever seen, with both Genshin Impact, which released in 2020, and Honkai Star Rail, released just last year. Both games are attempts to translate what are traditionally console experiences and adapt them into mobile-friendly, easily accessible games, and to great success. Both games have surpassed the $1 million revenue club, and Genshin has even surpassed $1 billion in revenue. Needless to say, they've got themselves a winning formula here, and that is to adapt successful console game formulas and make them easier to digest in a mobile format, while monetizing every single thing about them. And now, MiHoYo
I'm not gonna lie. You see, this is my thing with any of these gacha games. Okay, bruh, I get it. Y'all want to make your money. Let me just make your money off of the characters. I don't even agree with that, but it is what it is. I'll let that slide. Bro, why do we still have energy systems? Like, it feels so weird playing a game on a console and there's a fucking energy system. I don't care what game it is. Like I said, I'm loving War right now. I loved Genshin at some point. I loved Honkai Star Rail at some point. But, bro, I loved Fate so much. Well, Fate's not on console, so it doesn't apply to it. But I always way back. There are games I used to play I can barely remember the name of. There is a game I played way back. I probably was still in school. I think I was maybe in middle school or high school. Some game called Heroes War. If I can remember, I'll put a picture up of it. Heroes War and Might and Magic Clash of Heroes. Everything else I can't remember. I think both of those games had an energy system way back then. And I didn't even understand the concept of, like, money fully yet. Especially paying for it on a game like that. Actually, I did because I spent $200 in Grand Blue, and it made me stop playing gacha games for years. And I was in high school. You know how long it took to get $20? I spent that shit. I was just fucking hurt, bro. That shit made me never want to touch a gacha game again. But I got a lot more control over spending my money on shit like that now. I just spend it on like a skin. At least I know I'm gonna get the skin in like Marvel Rivals. In a gacha game, that's a no-go. But I'm sick of these energy systems, all those extra versions of monetization. Just monetize the fucking characters if that's what you're gonna do. And I guess skins if you're gonna do that.
Taken it upon themselves to keep pushing their aspirations of translating traditional console experiences into mobile-friendly ones with the release of Zenless Zone Zero, the studio's attempt to translate the character action genre from games such as Devil May Cry and Bayonetta into something anyone can enjoy on the go, with a few other social sim elements sprinkled in for good measure. The game clearly takes a lot of inspiration from...
Now, let me tell you this. This is slightly unrelated, but we're still talking about Genshin and stuff. Let me tell you right now, playing on mobile from the little bit of time I tried was atrocious for some things. For the most part, it works, but jeez, bro, trying to use a bow on mobile was a nightmare. Some people might say it's pretty good. If you can figure it out, that's great. But as somebody that was trying to play that game on mobile as least amount of time as possible, it was just during the time I didn't have my PlayStation. I need to log in and like do my dailies, whatever. When I used to do dailies, I was like, yeah, I can't do this shit.
Other games, both in terms of presentation and gameplay, but it fails to understand what makes those games so enjoyable to begin with. So what does Zenless Zone Zero do wrong, and can it improve? Or rather, are MiHoYo willing to improve? Well, no, I don't think they will.
No, they
Zenless
won't.
Zone Zero might be a success, but it's also a massive waste of potential. The game has so much going for it, but it fails to innovate on the formula MiHoYo has developed for themselves.
Does it? Zenless Zone Zero, it feels like the game that needs to exist the least out of all the MiHoYo games. Like, freaking Genshin is their big open world game. Honkai Impact is their first game. Honkai Star Rail is their turn-based game. And this shit is just Honkai Impact, but in I don't know what to call it. It's not cyberpunk, but it's not like it's not modern times in the way it seems, with like the little bang boos and shit around. I don't know what it is, but it's like it's a game that doesn't need to exist. Like its gameplay is similar to something they already got. It's just they want to corner another market, and I'm like, shit, they would want to print more money, honestly. But I don't care if that's what they're gonna do. They're gonna do it. But I don't think it needs to exist
Themselves and have ended up making a product that's just a regurgitation of the elements that make their products more business than they are games. It's the same thing you've played before, but just with a different coat of paint.
Literally.
And probably worse. Let me explain to you why that is. But before I do that, make sure to click that like and subscribe button down below if you want to see more videos like this in the future. It also goes a long way into spreading the video and getting more eyes on gaming discussions like this one. With that out of the way, let's dive in. Zenless Zone Zero looks to the past with a lot of its inspiration, as well as to the present. The intriguing combination of genres that ZZZ poses is what ultimately brought me in. The pitch poses a very interesting hypothesis.
I'm gonna stop this right quick. I need to swap my freaking layout over here. I don't know why I have it backwards. That should fix it. There we go. Alright, let's go.
What kind of game do you get when you combine the combat of a character action game like Devil May Cry, social sim elements and time management from Persona, and handcrafted dungeon crawling segments reminiscent of classic computer RPGs? I am a certified sucker when it comes to all of those genres, but combine them into a singular product? Now you
This
got
is
my
why
attention.
he likes
But I
the.
still
This is why
understood
he's
that
more
this
upset.
is a
Okay.
MiHoYo game, the studio behind some of the most predatory games on the market. But if they can make a game that I will,
They know what they're doing though. This game is like the most blatant fan service they
I'm
got.
not immediately opposed to free-to-play games, and as long as they're monetized properly, there won't be much of an issue. This is a new game and a new.
This might be a hot take, but when it comes to the free-to-play games, there aren't many good ways to monetize them. It's more acceptable for them to do things that other games shouldn't be doing. Like I think any game I paid $60 to $70 before, I'm paying more than half of $100. It's a lot of fucking money. I think I should be able to unlock most of the things in the game. Even skins. I know you're going to say it's just a cosmetic. It doesn't matter. It does fucking matter. You say that, but people would flex, even when they were free, people were flexing gold and diamond guns in those games. And I get it. You can still unlock those, I guess, in Call of Duty. But in some games, you have to pay for those fucking things. So yeah, I'm not going to lie. That is pretty fucking rough to me. I think it's hard to monetize a free-to-play game without it coming off as scummy. Because there's not many things you can do to monetize that people want to look at it funny or sideways. People bitch about skins, but that's like, if it's free-to-play, do what the fuck you want with skins. Charge what you want, I don't really care. I'll just skip it if I want it. I'm seeing Smite Odyssey skins, I only got one Odyssey skin, and that's because the gyms were on sale at the time. I don't regret it. Nah, I do, actually, Smite 2's coming out, never mind.
IP, there's always potential for change for a studio like this. The gameplay loop of Genshin Impact fell flat on me after I realized the game required grinding for materials and currency in order to keep up with the narrative. Enemies were level gating parts of the world, and that level gating makes it difficult to engage with the game.
Oh, this is the stupidest thing. I made a whole video about this. Bro, Genshin has some of the, it has some of the worst systems in a game I've played, bro. The freaking time gating in Genshin is so stupid. Like, I don't know why did they do it. I don't understand the idea of your time, like you have to wait for certain days to farm certain materials unless you did this event or you had some saved up, or if you just got enough to get things up the shop that will give it to you. I'm like, I guess that's another way for them to bait you into spending money. Get some primo gems so you can get those. Or whatever the hell they're called, Genesis crystals, so you can get what you want at the shop. Or the worst thing, bro. Nah, you know what? I don't want to talk about it. Keep going.
If you're not grinded like you should be, and Honkai Star Rail felt very, very slow as a game because it was much more focused on telling a narrative, and the combat got repetitive very quickly.
Oh, see,
I love JRPGs with a passion, but this one did not do it for me in the slightest. But Zenless Zone Zero could.
You might not just. I'm gonna be honest. Honkai Star Rail story I wasn't a big fan of, but its gameplay was really good. But I can see why he says it gets repetitive. I was gonna say I don't think he's really into turn-based games like he thinks, but I'm wrong. I think I'm wrong on that because when you look at it, it's very basic for the most part. There is depth to it, but overall, every character has one basic attack, which is usually just a basic attack for the most characters. It doesn't do anything special, so you pretty much have one skill and one freaking ult, which is one thing I like about these games. You have all of your stuff right off the bat for the most part. You have like your passives you get. I'm used to RPGs giving you like new moves as you go on. The moment you get the character, you have all of their base moves unlocked. You don't get anything extra from constellations or anything besides like buffs and shit.
Clearly, it's a game where combat is the main draw. It looks great, the characters look interesting with unique movesets and abilities, and I love the idea of a time management social sim on my phone. So sign me up. I'm hooked. Now let's see if they can keep me on the line.
Sweet roomies.
It all seems too good to
that
be
was
true.
My shit,
the game
bro.
starts with a flood of beautiful animation and hand-drawn cutscenes that really show that the art team at MiHoYo is top of their class. Really, everything about the look of the game is top tier. Clearly, all that mobile money is going to something. And after a bit of dialogue boxes, it throws you into one of the most flashy combat systems I have ever seen in the game. All of the damage numbers flying off with the flashy animations are really a sight to behold, and the game does an excellent job setting up little narrative threads to get you asking questions like, what is a proxy? What are hollows? What's in this little box?
Oh, I'm not gonna lie.
Carrying? All little things that let the player get invested.
Zenless has some of the cleanest animation, but no, bruh. The world was so boring for me. I don't care what none of this is. I don't care about hanging out in these fucking TVs like it's Persona 4. Unless a Dachi is pulled up in this bitch, I don't care. This world was their most... As somebody that doesn't like sci-fi shit, really, Honkai Star Rail had way more interest for me than this is. And I don't even know what genre this is. Punk? I don't know.
The narrative. The player picks one of two siblings and is set on their way as they learn about the world of New Eridu, one of the last surviving cities after the world was decimated by the Hollows, these supernatural pocket dimensions that convert the people inside.
God damn it, hold on.
Into these otherworldly beings. We learn that with the Hollows comes a new type of society, one where big corporations and the government work hand in hand to try to reconstruct the world into something that benefits the upper crust of society.
So, isn't that, maybe I'm tripping. Isn't that literally what the cyberpunk genre is? I don't keep up with cyberpunk stuff at all, but isn't that what cyberpunk stuff is? Literally, like, freaking corporations overtaking. And then there's usually some underground, lesser group of people that's trying to survive through it.
The people aren't taking that lying down. Gang violence is starting to spread.
Oh, is this
companies are also starting to pop up to retrieve valuable treasures from inside the hollows with the help of a proxy. That's where the player character steps in. They play the role of the proxy, guiding agents of these new companies to hunt for treasures within the hollows and complete commissions to earn a living. However, the proxies, hollow divers, and government all have something different to gain from exploiting the hollows, and that's where a lot of tension comes from narrative-wise. It's a really, really strong setup at that. It's good sci-fi and makes a compelling case right from the start. So, like, is it actually good, though? Well, with everything, there is good with bad. The scope of ZZZ is definitely much smaller than what MiHoYo has developed prior. Where Genshin Impact is this massive open world inspired by Breath of the Wild, ZZZ takes a more linear, small scope approach to game design. We're not exploring these massive open worlds or even planet hopping this time around. Instead, we're staying strictly in New Eridu here. Wearing Persona on its sleeve, the areas the player can interact with are these condensed little spaces with some NPCs you can interact with and a few collectibles to find, and that's it. Clearly, these areas aren't the most important part of the game. Noted. Now, combat is a whole different story altogether. The combat is where everything about Zenless Zone Zero comes together. It's punchy, frenetic, zippy, responsive. Everything a character action game needs to feel good is here. Impactful sound design, reactive enemies.
Now, I won't lie, the sound effects for the combat is really good. But I don't like the combat itself. The combat in this game is so lame to me. But I will give him that. The combat is very flashy. Like, it just feels like almost every character feels like they're doing the same shit. Everybody's extremely fast. Like, I'm used to playing, like, hear me out. I played Grand Blue Fantasy Relink, like, in the last few months. And, bro, that game, every character feels so unique from each other. You could go, I played 99% of the time I played with Narmaya. But I tried Zayla, and I'm like, oh, you can have a character that's in the air this often? And then I tried Gondagoza. I was like, oh, this guy has to time every attack to get buffed attacks and get more damage. And he attacks super slow compared to other characters, but he hits hard with every hit as long as you time it. This is so different. And they had a character that I remember. I stopped playing a long time ago, so maybe they added more characters that had more death and make them more unique. But the only character I remember that kind of stood out with their gameplay was Billy, Ellen, and Billy was pretty basic, but he kind of stood out. Ellen, and I can't remember the third character. There was somebody else that kind of stood out, but I can't remember them right now.
Flashy animations and some
music
to accompany it. And I really want to put emphasis on feel here. This is one of the better feeling character action systems I've come across, purely based on feedback given to the player. When the sound design emphasizes the character's moves in just the right way, and the way the camera shakes and zooms when you perform a perfect parry and it makes that berserk clang sound. Nothing hits quite like this, I will tell you that much. Combat damage is determined by an agent's level, so it does require you to invest currencies to level them up, as one would expect from other MiHoYo games. Characters have different roles, such as support, stunner, tanks, etc., to fit the needs of the player, and they all have elemental attributes attached to the damage they deal, so ideally, you would want to bring agents that are strong against whatever element the enemy is weakest to. Combat itself is pretty straightforward. You press the regular attack button in order to build a resource meter below your health bar that lets you use
Soldier 11 was the other character I
also
remember
builds
too.
up a type of style meter that when capped at 3,000 lets you do an ultimate with a character of your choice. When an enemy starts to throw hands, a yellow flash will appear right before they attack, giving you ample time to either dodge or parry the attack. Dodging will activate a witch time slow-mo effect, allowing you to get a few hits in, and a parry will swap out your character to the next, negate damage, and allow for a strong follow-up. You do all of this
can't even tell what's happening
a lot of the stagger bar in order to
how
do
fast everybody
damage.
is swinging.
So when you break an enemy stagger, you are given the option to tag
that's
in
one thing about MiHoYo games.
party
They get
members to do a powerful
really
attack
fast.
that can even
almost
stagger
every
surrounding
game does,
enemies.
actually.
So what you can do is hammer on one enemy to build up their stagger meter, swap to another,
Billy was
break
cool
their
like that.
stagger,
Like,
use
he just
a powerful
flying around
enemy
gonna
tag
get that
assist, and that will let you chain stagger breaks easily for massive damage. And each character has their own unique tag assist move. For For example, for the starting party, Nicole's tag is a magnet explosion that drags in nearby enemies to where it's cast. Billy's is an AoE Death Blossom type move that damages all enemies nearby and lets you chain stagger enemies, and Envy's is a strong single target damage move but can hit more than one enemy if they're grouped up close enough. You see where I'm getting at here? There's an element to strategy to combat here that relies heavily on positioning, resource management of your special, and the element of skill required for the player to perform combos and blocks and dodges efficiently. There's a flow here that's really addictive, and everything here complements each other so well. Combat feel in this game is polished to the cleanest shine one can possibly achieve. And not for nothing, but every character has their own distinct feel in combat, and they serve different functions based on their movesets.
Wait.
Has their own distinct feel in.
Alright, I'm not gonna lie, that's definitely cap. Every character does not have their own distinct feel in combat. Most characters feel the same. There are, well, like I said, by the time I stopped playing, they did. I stopped playing when I think Jane Doe? No, Caesar. I stopped playing when Caesar came out. I got Caesar and I didn't even get to level her up. I just stopped playing the game. So I don't know what happened after that with that Miyabi chick or anything like that. But a lot of characters felt extremely similar. Like, oh, we're going to use the exact same stuff as everybody else, but we're going to give you one extra gimmick. We're going to give you your own meter that does some special effect. It's like, oh, now you can do this instead because this character has this meter. But other than that, everybody was just kind of feeling the same. I think they should have made more like slower characters just to mix things up. Or got weird with the weapons. Give somebody a bow and arrow. Fuck it, bro.
In combat.
They would just make the bow and arrow character fast as fuck too, actually. Never mind.
And they serve different functions based on their movesets. They're all animated brilliantly, of course, and it's fun to see how their movesets complement each other. There's an element to team building like any other MiHoYo game, but it's not super deep because move pools are limited and you are limited to only using 3 characters at a time as well. But what is here really does sparkle. This is the best a MiHoYo game has ever felt. All of the right notes are being hit here. Numbers are big. Skills
this
are
is the most
the
casual, friendly MiHoYo game. I think that's what they wanted. They wanted a super casual, friendly game. Because a big open world feels like it shouldn't be a mobile game. So Genshin's out of the running. Honkai Impact might be able to be a mobile game, but it's really old now. So people don't want to, it's probably hard to get people to play that game. So that's automatically out. And then you have Honkai Star Rail, which is the most fitting to be a mobile game because obviously it's turn-based. You don't have to deal with the freaking terrible UI of like a freaking virtual joystick and all that extra shit. But you don't gotta worry about none of that in Honkai really besides walking around the world, but it's not like you fight like that since it's turn-based. So that would have fit the best. But also, those don't, you know, turn-based games are for an acquired taste. A lot of people do not like turn-based games. Like, there's a few that stick out. Like, the last turn-based game I know that was really good and people liked was Baldur's Gate. So, outside of that, you know, that's like a special case. You gotta wait for like a Persona game for freaking turn-based stuff to really pop off. Or indie games, obviously. But I will say, Zenless clearly is the game that MiHoYo want to be the mobile game for them. Super fast paced, brain turns off, go crazy.
Another great aspect of the game is the dungeon crawling segments where the player has to pilot their Bangbu Bunny proxy through a series of monitors.
This shit is terrible. I don't care who you are, but it's different, but it gets so old and it's so lame. Like, the first few times I was like, oh, this is cool. Once I had to keep going back in here, I hate this shit so much. This is the worst thing about this game. I could let everything else slide, but these TVs, little freaking marks, are the worst thing in this game. It's literally just puzzles over and over. And I know a puzzle game is much to the next guy, but if I want to play a puzzle game, I'd play a puzzle game.
That represent the hollow that they are investigating. Each monitor is a room in the dungeon that is the hollow. The player passes through monitor to monitor as they reach objectives, treasure chests, encounter enemies, and even do some light puzzle solving. Legit, this is probably the best part of the game.
Oh no! He's trolling me, bro. Oh, say it ain't so. The best part? Let me hear what he says.
for me. It feels the most like a game out of everything in the final package because it's a type of game mode that benefits from the brevity. These segments are short, but I think that helps the overall flow of the game, and I really wish there were more of them because they are legit fun to play through. So, what else good?
Ooh, that was a bad thing. Ooh, do you like? If you like it, you like it. But jeez, bro, these parts, a lot of them are not short because the dialogue in between them, and since these are story bits, Genshin, or not Genshin, my bad. Freaking MiHoYo is allergic to skip buttons a lot of the time. So, you have to play, you can't really skip through these, you kind of gotta play them. You can fast forward through them though. There is fast forward button in this, I will give them that. But, it's too much. Like, they last a little too, if they lasted like 2 minutes, I'd be like, okay, I can ignore these. But these things be like 5 minutes, so you have to go through these, then fight while you're in here, then go back into it afterwards. And that's the problem. And then some animations just take forever. Too much.
What is there? I hate to say it, but this is just about where the good ends for this game. And hating on this game does hurt because it has so many elements that I think could work if it were given to a proper developer. And if you do enjoy the game, all the more power to you. There's clearly enough here to last you probably 50 hours or more. And for a free game, I think that's pretty great. But for me,
lasted me about 30 hours
is really a disorganized, half-baked, expensive mess.
I spent a lot of time on the pause menu in this game. Like, I don't know what it is about MiHoYo games. Bro, I always find a spot and I just sit there. I have like iconic ass spots for MiHoYo games. For example, when I played Genshin for the first time, I think the town was Windrise, right outside of Mondstadt. That giant tree where that freaking Hilichurl spawns at, the guy, the one that has a special name and has the briefcase or whatever, bro, I be chilling out there. I remember every time I booted up the game, I would be there. There is no way I wouldn't be. And if I wasn't there, I would think my account got hacked. In freaking Honkai Star Rail, I'm always hanging out at the simulated universe. I'm gonna hang out right next to Herda. All the time. Zenless, I just spent my time in the pause menu, like in the freaking... I would be, I think, in the house though, like right in front of the computer screen. OBS tried to take us out, but we just rebooted that bitch. We're gonna keep on trucking from where I hope we left off.
So hard to mix all of these genres together, but is too caught up in monetizing every single aspect of it in order to make a quick buck. And so every aspect of the game falls short. Nothing gets to shine in its own way because there's always a rub attached to it, either systemically or financially. Other games do what Zenless Zone Zero tries to do, but they do it so much better. The combat in this game really feels great, but it can't be experienced consistently because combat encounters are too short, and what depth there is in the system does not get to showcase itself because encounters are so limited.
There's just not much depth to it. That's it. That's all it is. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't think that's the problem. But some of those some of these like boss fights do take a while. It's just the combat it's not much. There's enough to it because there's a bunch of passives. But it's like all their other games. You have a skill, you have an ult. There's all the nuances of, what does the skill do, obviously. But it's like, you're going to have your supporting characters. There's going to be, like, I think Lucy, the one with the motorcycle gang girl with the freaking doll things. And she gets hit out with the bat. It's like, yeah, she can spawn the little things to help you attack and set up shit. But after you do that, you're going to get attack her out. Go into whoever your DPS is, and then just start swinging all over the place fast as hell. That's just kind of what it is in this game. And I get it, but it is what it is. Like, I don't really care. From what I can tell, though, it seems like this game doesn't really have healers, which is kind of different. But, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think I've really seen a healer.
Limited in scale. A good character action game expands the player's movesets with new tools to let them experiment.
Thank you, bro. I'm glad he said it. Why in all these gacha games do you? I don't like that you start off with your.
And to spice up the combat sandbox for a deeper experience. The combat sandbox here does not get deeper, it just gets wider. Characters don't get new moves, they only get buffed.
Literally, why is it saying, bro? Why do they do this shit? I don't like it. Even Wua does it, and it's like, the idea, I guess, is instead of you getting new moves for your party, you get new characters. You have to get new characters, and those are like your new moves. And then you have to, but then it's like, to deal with that, now I have to grind up a whole new character. And I'm like, maybe I don't want to do that. But it's part of the whole gacha game flow, obviously. I'd rather have cut the characters in half, but they're a lot more in-depth, like I pick and choose. Grand Blue Relink does this shit perfectly, actually. I'm glad I watched this video, because it made me think of it. Grand Blue does it perfectly. I think every character has like 6 to 8 abilities. I want to say 8. And then there's like capstone abilities where you get extras. So you get parts of it, so you can buff them later down their skill tree. But you get to bring 4 abilities into a fight. So that means a lot of the times, no 2 characters are the same. Like obviously you can't bring duplicates to a mission anyway. But if you have a Narmaya, your Narmaya playstyle might fit differently than somebody else's. If you suck at perfect dodging, or you're not confident in it, you might want to bring in a fucking skill that launches her back so you can dodge while attacking and it's a lot faster. Or you might want to bring her counter to just, since it has a giant window, it makes it easier to just have to worry about insta-kill attacks or things like that. So much better how they handle it. And they still have a decent amount of characters too. So I don't want to hear that excuse.
Appreciate that characters are all animated uniquely and serve different functions in combat, but the options they provide don't do anything substantial enough to alter the combat sandbox in any way. For a good example, let's use Devil May Cry 5. Here, the player has access to 4 different movesets, all represented by their own character with Nero, V, Dante, and Virgil. And each character has their own upgrade trees that expand their combo potential. Each combat encounter is designed in a way that lets the players express their playstyle in whatever way they want because of how many skills are available to use for each character. There is so much depth that each character can provide on their own, and it allows the player to find the style they like the most. Even games like Tales of Arise and Grand Blue Fantasy Relink, which are more action-focused combat RPGs, allow the player to swap out skills to best fit the situation and play composition. When I play Grand Blue Fantasy Relink, it feels like the combat has enough depth that allows me to express myself.
Literally everything I just said, bro. This is what I'm talking about. What the fuck? Why can't gacha games? I want gacha games that would do this. I'm okay with having to roll for characters because, especially when it comes to a lot of friends I hang out with that do play them, a lot of them don't spend money. So it's interesting to see who we end up with. When you do play with friends that do got money though, and they just roll for every character, it kind of kills some of the fun for me. It's like, oh, I'm gonna have every character you have, so the exclusivity of the character don't feel as good anymore. That's just me though.
Pick, not so here.
I only care about like my friend group when it comes to gacha. I don't care what the rest of the community is doing. I don't play the game even with my friends. Even games like freaking Wua or Genshin, I don't really go into the co-op anyway. It's just more to like talk about builds and stuff like that.
Zenless Zone Zero isn't trying to go for that, as it's much more focused on being a numbers game first, but the fact that there's nothing the player can do to expand a character's playstyle past boosting damage numbers and getting passive effects to their normal attacks is a recipe that leads to burnout really fast, which is also probably the reason why combat encounters last as long as they do, or rather, why they don't. The developers realize that there is not enough depth here for encounters to last upwards of 1 minute, because that would mean the player might realize that there isn't much there is to do other than spamming square enough times to press triangle and then press right trigger to activate your ult to end the battle. Look, I get it. It's a phone game first and foremost, but that is not an excuse
that holds these games back. I'm not gonna lie. A lot of these games are held back by them having to be on mobile. They want the mobile version to be synonymous with the console version, and obviously that to be synonymous with the PC version. You don't want it to be 2 different versions of the game. It's like what happened, if you don't know the story, I'll make it quick. The story between Smash Wii U and Smash 3DS. The Ice Climbers didn't get put in that game. You know why they didn't get in? And it's because they couldn't get the Ice Climber. So they could not get those characters to work on a DS. There was too many problems. So instead of just taking Ice Climbers out of the DS version, they took them out of the Wii U version. So we had to go a game without them. Whether you think that's a good thing or not is up to you. But I do feel like that really hurt the game to some degree. You take out one of your most known characters for Smash at least, not in general.
Have depth. Portability is not a free pass for basic ass gameplay. If I can play DMC5, Tales of Arise, or Grand Blue Fantasy Relink on the same platform I play Zenless Zone Zero, I would much rather play those any day of the week. The world of New Eridu has a lot of potential both in terms of characters that inhabit it, their retro future aesthetic, and how the story uses the world. It's just a shame that the developers don't really do much with the world itself. While the setup for the world of New Eridu is great, the writers don't do much with the concept. It's not really concerned with tackling tricky subjects such as misplacement of the homeless and corporate takeovers, and wants to remain as unproblematic as possible. It acknowledges that they exist while at the same time saying nothing insightful about those topics other than that's not.
We don't really have a grim gacha game that's big, do we? Huh. That would be an interesting idea. Because we have ones that cover dark subjects or have dark moments like Fate, but the thing is, Fate is in a visual novel format, so it doesn't really help it. But what if we had something that was just straight up dark? I guess Nikkei gets really dark too. Like, if you didn't see Dorothy's story, I recommend go looking into it. Bro, that shit had me. I wanted to cry damn near at the end of Dorothy's story. It was so sad. And I don't even know where it kept going after that, because I stopped playing shortly after. But, you know, I want something that's like really dark or different. Like, give us something like Berserk in a gacha form, or in something like this. That would be crazy.
Not good. We should fix that. The world of New Eridu is just a pretty coat of paint to sell an aesthetic, a vibe, a pandering type of vibe, really. One that tries to say, look at this, you remember this, right? Videotapes, CRTs, remember? It's Electro, without saying anything meaningful about it. The playable world feels so empty, and I think that has a lot to do with how small they are. There's very little meaningful interaction to be had.
I don't think it's trying to pander in that way. Because I'm thinking of the general audience of people that would be playing these games, which are people that are probably like, these are probably kids that are like 14, 15 years old. I think 14 to 15 year olds, being honest, don't know what a VCR is and don't know what tapes are. I'm thinking about by the time I was watching DVDs, and I'm older than most of those kids. I'm going to be older than those audience, obviously. And I'm like, yeah, but the time wouldn't add up to me. I'm like, those kids would most likely not know what the hell this is. If, what's her name? Nicki Minaj didn't know what the fuck a disposable camera was, then I don't think these kids will know what a VCR is.
In the world, other than doing busy work to hit your dailies. Like, take a picture of a cat or go get a coffee. The game forces you to interact with it instead of encouraging the player to take any initiative and
it's like, there's going to be a video I'm going to make. I'm promising you right now. I don't know when I'm going to do it. I don't know if I'm going to do it next. I got other videos of a bunch of different subjects I want to do. But I'm making a video about Borderlands 2. I'm making another one. I did one way back and it was terrible. It's probably still up. I don't recommend watching it. But I made a very shitty video about Borderlands 2. Even though I stood by the opinions on it, the video, the way it was handled was shitty. But I want to do another one. And I have a very specific subject I want to talk about. And I think games should never do that again. But I'll tell you about when I get there.
Explore it on their own, because there's nothing to see outside of scripted interactions with overly long story beats. And the characters are, well, I hesitate to even call them that. When characters in media are discussed, they are often followed by conversations of how they behave, what their actions mean, their beliefs, their motivations, their goals, basically things that make them relatable. Cool characters in Zenless Zone Zero don't really offer anything of the sort. Characters in gacha games have to be quick glances. The player needs to know everything about a character through one look, their attitude, how they present themselves via their clothing, hairstyle.
I'm about to say, I ain't gonna front, because you look at Billy, what comes to mind? Badass. That's all you can get off of looking at him.
posture. All vital tools both in character design and character narrative. Selling characters is hard because characters have nuance. Gotcha characters, however, are designed to be appealing first and characters second, and that's really on full display here. I really like the look of Billy Kid here in this game. He's an energetic cyborg with a Wild West thing going on. His voice actor is fantastic and does a great job doing his best Ryan Reynolds Deadpool impression. In cutscene, he chews on the scenery and is animated a lot like a Looney Tunes character, and it's great fun watching every time he's on screen. But outside of him doing quotes from an in-universe Power Rangers knockoff, there is nothing to his character. Nothing is expanded upon, and that's the case for every character. Each character has one personality trait that is blown up to 11, and that's the limit. And when that happens, all the other characters
this can backfire. Good example, Zenitsu from Demon Slayer. No, obviously, no, he's not like that anymore, but I challenge you, if you think I'm capping, go look at when Zenitsu first got introduced in like that first little part. Like the first few episodes you dealt with him, especially most of the first season, Zenitsu was so fucking annoying. He was just a scary cat that they went way too far with it. And then outside that, the only other emotion he had was lust, or whatever you want to call it. Love. He loves Nezuko. That was like all. He had his moments, obviously, but for the most part, that was him. Like he had a moment when he protected her from the box. He didn't know she existed yet, though.
Have a chance to be heard. Let's take a look at a game that Zenless Zone Zero takes most of its inspiration from, Persona 5. The Persona series really took off with this entry, and for good reason. It combines a social sim where you interact with characters written with nuance and depth, and combines it with a turn-based dungeon crawler.
I love Persona 5 as a game on its own. I never played Royal. I have no fucking plans of playing it. I'm not paying money to play the same game again with some few hours worth of content. No. It's basically an expansion, but I played the game. I don't really need to see it, and I was satisfied with everything I got in the first game. But I love Persona 5. I hate what it's done. I know they always milk Persona games in between, but god damn, bro. I spent $38 on Tactica. Give me my fucking money back. I finished that shit out of obligation. I love this guy. I love turn-based games. I was like, oh, I might like this. Nah. It was cool at the beginning. After about 3 hours, I wanted my money back.
Style seeps from every opening the game has, but it also knows that style isn't everything. Characters are what make the Persona games what they are. They are character-driven narratives at the forefront. We see these characters go through turmoil and express themselves at many opportunities, and by embracing their other selves and their troubles, they gain strength to confront the things that weigh down on them. And that human element is what makes them relatable. I love all of the characters in the Persona games because they feel like real people with real problems. I'm not saying that the writing is perfect by any means, but at least the writers go out of their way to give these characters nuance because they understand that you'll be interacting with them in multiple ways, like combat or social links. And in order for me to care about your characters, I need them to be relatable. It's difficult to relate to a character that doesn't do much other than spout one-liners. And all characters in Zenless Zone Zero are flanderized versions of a trope you already know. Billy is the comic relief that tries too hard to be cool. Andy is the Ray-type doll character who never raises her voice or shows concern. And Nicole is the charming femme fatale that always runs away from her bills because she has sex appeal that she can swang around. You've seen all of this before. Everything is just too cool for you because Zenless Zone Zero is all about being cool. That's the vibe. Don't get it twisted. Zenless Zone Zero is cool. One look is all you need to tell that yes, this game has enough style to serve a whole buffet. But when cool is the only thing being served, you start to get tired of it. Variety is the spice of life, as they say, and that applies to writing as well. But you can't have characters being relatable because that's not cool. You can sell cool. Not one character showed up in my time of playing that I could connect to, and a lot of this has to do with how poor the writing is in the game in general. Dialogue has a major...
I barely paid attention to the writing because I got so bored so fast, so I do want to see what he says. I can't say too much here. like it going against them most likely, but I want to see what he says.
Brevity issue. There is a constant need to tell the player everything and not show, and it really kills all momentum the game like this would have. I don't want to be sitting here getting needlessly exposited to. I want to be doing the combat and doing the TV dungeon crawling. It would help if the dialogue was good.
Yo, why does MiHoYo suck at telling the story? I never paid attention to it. This is worse than Genshin. Them having a little split in between, I'm like, this only makes sense if they were talking like on the phone or some shit.
Really isn't. It's needlessly verbose, and more often than not, it does not get to the point to keep pacing up. Every time I feel like a dialogue could end, it goes on for another six text boxes that don't offer any new information. Characters don't grow in these extra text boxes. They're just needless padding. Something in me says it's this way because there's such a lack of meaningful gameplay to keep the player engaged outside of it. Because when the actual combat section happens, they last for about a minute max. Gotta fill game time with something, right? May as well let it be words, because words are easy. Combat, not so much. Brevity is the soul of wit, and this game has...
I used to understand why is this the game that made him realize that the combat doesn't have much to it, because that's how Genshin is. That's how, well, he didn't realize it with Honkai Star Rail. But it's like all of their games feel like this. I don't know why this one would stand out in terms of that. I guess he didn't play Honkai Impact, which I didn't either. But I feel like I would have noticed it fast. Like the only reason I can let Hawkeye Star Rail fly is because it's turn-based. So a big appeal to that game for me was I can auto farm, and even then they fucked that up.
No wit. It's words just for the sake of words. Slop that is strewn together for the sake of consumption. And at its core, that is what Zenless Zone Zero is. Slop that wants to be more than that. What's present is a poor excuse for a gameplay loop. The player will spend the majority of their time meandering around an empty hub world doing busy work in order to pump numbers into their character instead of actually...
This shit was terrible. I hate stuff like this. This is my problem with gacha games. All that extra bullshit nobody wants to do. Who the fuck wants to go around taking pictures of cats? When you post, your game is marketed on this crazy ass cutscenes with this wild ass, fully cooly ass, fucking fluid ass animation, and your crazy combat supposed to be super fast, all that, and we out here taking pictures of fucking cats. I'm like, bro, I don't care about none of this shit. Walking around this tiny ass hub world. And then you can't even run nowhere near fast because those motherfuckers. I started thinking those people weren't real. Like last time I played the game, y'all tell me if I'm wrong. I don't know the story. Bro, are Nicole them real? Because maybe I'm smoking. I don't remember ever seeing Nicole and Billy them pull up to the freaking TV room. I never remember like meeting them as the main characters, Bellin or whatever his name was. Twice.
Using those characters in combat. Going back to Persona 5, the thing that makes it work on a fundamental level is that it perfectly balances both the social sim aspects and the combat so neither system outstays their welcome, and both sides of the game influence the other.
See, I'm lost. I want to see where he goes, because I don't know what he's talking about when he says social system. I don't remember Zenless really having one.
The social links you do in the real world affect your combat proficiency of your team in the metaverse, and the shadows you kill give money that you can spend back in the real world to get new equipment or ways to boost your social stats. Or you can even recruit shadows from combat to become your personas, which boost their corresponding arcana social links in the real world. The systems are intrinsically connected that it wouldn't work if either one was missing. It creates this addictive one more day mentality from the player that makes them want to keep playing. And Zenless Zone Zero does nothing of the sort. The dungeon diving combat gameplay and hub exploration experiences are two separate. Being rewarded with upgrade materials only works one way, and that's just the combat, but there's nothing else to do outside of it. Unless reading text boxes is a favorite pastime of yours, I suppose. Now, monetization is the one dirty word that you know very well if you've played any MiHoYo game. It's not a good word to hear. And it's not a MiHoYo game without the gacha, is it? MiHoYo and gacha are synonymous at this point. You can't have one without the other. But even then, the gacha in this entry...
This is one thing I don't fuck with about them. Like, Shift Up is the people that made Nikke, from what I understand. And Shift Up is also the people that made, Stellar Blade, from what I understand. So if that really is the case, then I'm glad that they said, you know, the money we got from our gacha games, let's make an actual game and see how it goes. Even if they only do it one time. I'm like, that is fucking lit. Let's make an actual game and see how that goes. Lit. They said, fuck that for this shit though. Behold, like, why would we do that? We can put our games on all platforms and just keep raking in the money. We just have to corner every genre. I wouldn't doubt, honestly, if MiHoYo, like, we get all these guys games trying to cover everything. We have that freaking Spider-Man GTA fucking game that's supposed to be coming out, Project Mugen or whatever it's called. And I wouldn't be surprised if MiHoYo makes a freaking PvP, straight up PvP, like, hero shooter gacha game next. I don't want to give them ideas, but I wish.
Feels weak
by
comparison to Hoyo's other entries. There are only really two things you can retrieve when doing polls this time, and those are either characters or W drives. Characters are pretty self-explanatory, but W drives are equipables that can boost certain aspects of a character, like artifacts from other MiHoYo games. A lot of this has to do with how the majority of the game rotates around the combat experience this time around. Characters are more unique both in look and how they play. They don't follow a standard skeletal framework that Genshin and Honkai do that makes all of the characters look really samey. So everyone has very unique proportions, height, size, animations, etc. There was a lot of effort into making each character really stand out from the rest. So props on that. It goes a long way into making the player want the character to begin with, because that's the main goal, to make the player want, because what they want, they will have to pull for. And that's the one standard across all of these games. The monetization systems in place are so needlessly complex that MiHoYo has taken it upon themselves to reward their player base by making the most comprehensive guides they can, so they as a
I didn't realize what I was reading. Hold the fuck up. Proxy, welcome to Zenless Strategy Station. The strategy guide contest is where you work with submit your guide for a chance to win 5,000 polychrome, a merch bundle, and other awards. Once submissions reach 1,000, the milestone award 30 polychrome will be unlocked. Holy shit. What the fuck? They were so lazy that they couldn't make, oh no. They want their fans to make a strategy guide because they weren't going to do it themselves? Ugly.
Company don't have to do the explaining themselves. It's really a brilliant strategy, using this established community for what is essentially free labor with the promise of free fun bucks for your account if you're voted the best.
If you win, yeah, you get 5,000. Honestly, that's not enough. 5,000 is not enough. I don't get on the bed for that. I think the equivalent of at least 100 multis. 90, whatever. 90, I guess. Whatever you need to get one character, or a chance at one character. Which, whatever, let's go.
There's something just so icky about it. It all feels so dirty. The more and more I think about it, it just makes me want to take a shower. These developers are taking advantage of these players to make onboarding tools for free. Because
they're literally outsourcing the labor by giving you in-game currency that costs nothing, so you can get more people into the game by making it easier for them with a strategy guide, and they can spend the money. So even if it did cost them money, they would be recouping it by the new people you would be getting in for them. Oh, they're geniuses, bro. They're so smart for that. It's so scummy, but they're so smart, and people are willingly doing it, so they can't get in trouble for it.
What little fun bucks they hand out, which for MiHoYo is free, they can do it whenever they want. They're more likely to.
Yeah, he was bullshitting earlier with the TV. I'm not gonna lie, he was bullshitting earlier talking about the fucking TVs, but he's cooking now, bruh. Me and him bruh. I'm telling you, it's like that black Elden Ring NPC guy, that Elden Ring fucking Skyrim NPC that escaped. He said, me and him are energetically aligned with this message, bro.
The players they give it to will be to spend money. It's disgusting stuff. Now, mobile games have really come a long way, haven't they? What used to be these little time wasters while riding the bus has turned into something unrecognizable. These products have gotten much more complex over time, but they are also much more sinister. They're not just time wasters anymore. They're basically jobs, cleverly disguised.
Which is why I stopped playing them. Which is why I stopped, and I'm scared to get super far into Woo, which is why I'm taking Woo slow. I know you guys been telling me to get to Arena Cedar already. I can't rush it. I'm gonna burn out if I rush it. So whenever I feel like it, I'll play the game. When I don't feel like it, I'm not touching it. It's that simple. Because it's so easy for me. Ever since I stopped playing Fate, after I played Fate for so long, played Fate for like 3 years. After I stopped, I was like, bro, these shits are jobs. I'm sick of this shit. I was spending 6 hours fucking farming in Fate. I spent like 4 hours farming in freaking Genshin. I'm like, bro. And that's because I had to wait until Sunday. Like, what other game do you have to, like, not by your friends, not by the game itself or your life schedule, by the game's fucking schedule that you have to plan out shit. I'm talking about Genshin right now. Bro, you have to, Genshin, you like, okay, Sunday's gonna be my farming day, I guess, because that's the only day when everything in the game is available. So I'm like, or you can be like, okay, I guess Thursday I'll be farming. I get home at 10, I'll have a few hours before the servers reset, and I can't. Like, bro, come on now.
Jobs. When you play a mobile game like this, you can't really commit to anything else. Mobile studios have reached a point where their games are optimized in a way that has you tied to the game for a large chunk of your life. They're incredibly deceptive products when you take a step back and observe how they treat their players. Starting them gives you mountains of rewards just for progressing through the main scenario or even doing the busy work, but those tiny rewards start to slow down and eventually dry up. You start running out of things to do, and suddenly those easy upgrades you were getting seem much more difficult, and now you're required to farm. You farm for days and days just to get that one little smidgen
you
of
have to farm for so long, especially when you get to the higher level of skills in these games. You gotta farm forever to just get the one little bit you fucking need. And I hate it so much. I hate how long you have to farm for this shit, bro. It's like, and then Genshin had the worst because they had the weekly bosses and you can only farm them once a week. And then they had the thing where you can exchange the materials for other shit, from other weekly bosses. But then it's only certain bosses you can exchange. I'm like, why are you making it so complicated? You fucks. God damn.
Power you need to do the harder content. So if you want to continue playing these games and leveling all of your characters and their items, you are all but required to invest your time into them in order to make sure you have all of the currencies required to progress. Dailies, weeklies, login rewards, battle pass, and any other in-game purchases the player makes all incentivize them to keep playing longer and longer, even if they're not enjoying the game. Currencies are obfuscated to make them more complex than they need to be. Gated behind activity.
This is probably the strategy guide. This is probably the guy that won. I won't be surprised if this is the guy that won. He is telling you what does what right now. So like, look at this, bro. You gotta do the battery charge equals Trailblaze power, which equals original resin. Ether cell equals fuel equals fragile resin. Denny equals crap. I'm like, geez, they talk about all between their games, between all three of their games. Holy fuck, bro. This is disgusting.
You don't have access to until you hit a certain account level, for God's sake. And harder activities require more and more energy as you go for the higher ranks of materials you need.
All and there we go. Energy that doesn't need to be in the game, but we're gonna throw it in the fucking game anyway. We already gotta wait for a certain day to farm some shit. But no, that's not enough. We also need to steal your fucking energy. Can you stop frying me?
Things like money, upgrade materials, energy to do in-game actions are all tuned in a way where the player gets just enough to get you to come back. Like, damn, I'm missing that 50 money to get that next character upgrade, but if I log in tomorrow, I'm guaranteed to get a lot just for logging in, so I may as well just do the
This is why I've been playing Marvel Rivals. People talk about, oh, those skins are too expensive and shit. I'm like, listen, I'll pay $15 for a skin that comes with a bunch of other shit. Then I'll spend fucking however much time I gotta put into this game to get one character level up. The amount of time I gotta spend to get one character to be maxed out is way less than the amount of time. Like literally $15 on average. I'm not pro. Actually, probably not on average. But from a lot of people I know, at least, that's about an hour of work time for them. I can fucking deal with that. That's a little less than what I get an hour. I can give up an hour of time foreskin.
Dailies as well to get what I need for my other character, and shit, may as well just grind some upgrade materials while I have the energy, because if I don't spend
that means I would have got, if you can earn it in game, theoretically I would have earned it within an hour. Boy, this shit is a nightmare. No.
While it's cash, I'm basically losing out on potential materials. If you can't tell, I don't like this, because Zenless Zone Zero is a treadmill that never stops, just like Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail before it, because when new content gets patched in, because these are live service games after all, the cycle begins anew, and it always wants you.
It's a never-ending game too, and I hate it. I'm glad he said that. I hate it. Like, I understand multiplayer games don't really end either, but they're PvP and I can leave whenever, it doesn't matter really. The thing is, when I come back, for the most part, it's gonna be the same. Unless I'm playing something like Fortnite, that's always just fucking evolving. You can leave Apex and for the most part, come back to Apex. And if you had, you're gonna be rusty obviously, but you can understand the bare basics of the game, which is still gonna be the same way with Fortnite too. You're gonna understand the basics, probably gonna be a new mechanic at it though. These games, you're gonna leave, come back, 2 new fucking regions dropped by the time you came back. There's a whole new mechanics there only for those regions, a fuck ton of tutorials. They're gonna throw all this shit at you. You're so behind. Your characters are outdated. Not even the characters. Your characters are outdated. Your artifacts are outdated. Your relics, whatever they are. Your weapon is outdated because there's a better weapon for that character and they can't keep up with the new content anymore. I'm like, suck a dick.
You playing until it becomes part of your routine. Because if you play for a long time, you're more likely to spend money on things you need. That's why there are so many different currencies. If the player runs into too many roadblocks, they'll be more likely to spend money. And when progress is roadblocked, that ruins the routine. Can't have that. MiHoYo uses this little psychology trick to get their clutches deep into the player with sunk costs that they'll be more willing to spend money on. And really, everything becomes much easier if you have money. Even the strongest progression gate in history has no match for the almighty strength of the credit card. Yep. It's a similar story to all other HoYoverse games. They do this really sinister thing where the progression...
you can't buy the progression. Well, you can buy gacha summons, which get you the freaking currency that can use to buy progression, technically, because you can buy a lot of shit and stuff.
It doesn't really start to plateau until you reach 1 or 2 chapters deep. So the
once
players
you're in the
are
game,
often at this point where they have invested time and effort into the story and getting
people
to
know like, you need to get far enough in the game to review it. No, the fuck I don't. No, I don't. Listen, if I'm eating shit food, if I'm eating some food and I know I don't like it, or I think it's shitty, will I keep eating that shitty food? No, I would spit it out and say this sucks and that'd be the end of that. After I eat 2 bites, if it's dog shit, I'm not gonna eat a 3rd bite. If I'm playing a game for an hour or 2 and the game fucking sucks to me, why would I keep playing the dog shit game? Come on now.
Characters that they will want to spend money to see it to completion, because sunk cost fallacy is a bitch. Genshin, Honkai, and now Triples.
And I won't deny that the games can get, I won't deny, games can get better later. I will not deny that. Obviously, some games will get better later. I don't have any hope for gacha games though. Like, some games don't really get going. Like, Borderlands, I'm not gonna lie. Borderlands 2, one of the best games ever made to me. The first, like, hour or 2 is kind of basic. It's honestly kind of boring. But once you get to Sanctuary and go to your first mission, the first real mission from Sanctuary, and you get the side quest, is when the game really starts turning up. But that's just me. And that's how I feel about it. And if you don't enjoy it, I'm like, I get it. If you didn't enjoy the game before that, I'm not gonna be mad at it. I think people are gonna be mad at me, but go ahead.
See, all have the same framework for progression, so you will know what to expect if you have played those other games. It's the same predatory bullshit with a different coat of paint. A very shiny and very flashy coat of paint. This game had all of the shapings to be...
He should have known this, though. I'm not gonna lie. I thought Star Rail part made it harder to see because it's turn-based, but he should have known that it's all the same shit off of that game. Everything can be converted over from like, they literally just make currency. They just reskin their games, basically. And not in terms of its gameplay per se, but like a lot of the stuff and mechanics, currencies, all that is just reskinned. into a theme that fits the new game.
Be a change of pace for MiHoYo in terms of monetization, but they fumbled it. So the game we have today is more of the same bullshit. I value my time and money equally. So when I see a game that asks for both in ludicrous amounts in order to be fully experienced, that's where I draw the line. But there are others who, for them, these games are seemingly all they know. In a recent report put together by the Entertainment Software Association, 31% of people playing games today in the US exclusively play mobile games.
It's still sad that I get why. It makes so much sense to me that most people play mobile games, but it hurts so much because it's a lot of like very casual people, and then there's like moms and shit. There's like moms that play Candy Crush and shit like that. Like my mom, I never, off the top of my head, I could never think of a time I've seen my mom holding a game console. And we had a lot growing up. I never seen her holding the game console controller unless we were in trouble and she was taking the controllers away so we couldn't play them. But I don't think I've ever seen her hold like a GameCube controller, Xbox, anything. But I've definitely had her playing Bejeweled. Actually, I've seen her play Mario. But even then, she was pretty much playing a mobile game. But she literally had me play Super Mario 64 DS for her, so she can play the mini games. That's all she wanted to play. So I had to play through the game for her just so she can get the mini games. It's literally shit like that. And that's just the market now. And it sucks because, like I said, it just makes things go in a circle. Now we're at the point where there's people that's playing these games, boosting them up when they shouldn't be boosted up. And now we got mobile games taking over, and these fucking devs are trying to pull the mobile game strategy. They're trying to literally get their cake and eat it too. They're trying to get the mobile game strategy and put a shit ton of microtransactions and BS in it, specifically Ubisoft and shit like that. They want to put all their BS in the game, but they also want to still charge us $60 to $70, honestly more, for these games. I'm like, oh, after playing Grand Blue Relink, I was like, oh, I don't have to be a cheap slut. I can just go over here, and at least, at a minimum, instead of being cheap slut, I'll be an escort. No, I'll take that.
Predatory microtransaction trash is all these players know and engage with. They're so deep into the MiHoYo ecosystem that it's hard to get out from a psychological perspective. They crave that next pull because it could be the one that has one character they need to complete their collection. These loot box mechanics are inherently predatory and prey off of the player's emotions to get that next hit. You know, maybe you didn't get the thing you wanted this time, but you might in another 100 pulls, so keep trying. With each spend, you get more gameplay options, so players are always incentivized to spend more and more, because with each dollar spent, that's getting closer and closer to the end game faster. Gambling is, of course, not a very good thing. I'm not a fan, but that is a topic for a whole other video altogether. With all of that in mind, Zenless Zone Zero is really a sad game. I really wanted to like it. I really, really did. I'm a huge fan of the look the game has, the feel of the combat. There is a lot to like there, but it's finally time to come to terms with MiHoYo's development philosophy. They don't make games that are fun. They make games that waste your time and money.
They make jobs, literally. But they don't make jobs for developers. They make jobs for players.
The illusion of fun. The experience lacks any depth.
You have to pay for your job. Or they want you to pay for your job. Or your job is going to be shitty. That's literally how I feel about MiHoYo.
Even the most diehard fan of character action games return. Hitting perfect parries can only carry a game so far, and spamming one move in hour 1 to hour 40 only with a bigger number is not a sign of good game design.
I remember when this went viral, bro. MiHoYo was getting a little too flagrant with their, catering to their fans with this.
The bigger number is not a sign of good game design. It's a shallow experience that is only held up with the flashy looks of the combat system. Now, being a mobile game doesn't mean you are immune from criticism. You want to share the marketplace with your contemporaries? That means that players and consumers will hold you to the same standard as those games. However, mobile game players have different standards from people that traditionally play console games. They have very different expectations. I think there's an argument to be made that MiHoYo is pushing the boundaries of what mobile games can be with each entry, but the way they monetize them to nickel and dime the player with endless amounts of currencies as a form of gatekeeping.
Really push shit. I'm gonna be honest. I guess you could say that because they're the most known, and their games outside of their graphics, you can say I guess because the combat is super crazy for a lot of their games. Not for Genshin, obviously, but for Genshin's biggest thing is you got a fucking gigantic open world on your phone. That is crazy. But I'm looking at more of, jeez, bro, it's really just the graphics kind of carrying the game because I'd rather play a freaking other mobile game that was clearly built for it a lot more and is easier to control on it. Motherfucker, I go play Doodle Jump. If you don't know what the fuck that is, then you just don't know. I had that shit on the iPad. Not iPad, iPod actually. We'll talk about that though.
Keeping progression and gambling with getting the best characters they can is a hard no from me. Just because a game has hot anime mommies doesn't mean you need to spend unpredictable amounts of money to get them. Persona 5 is right there. Go play that instead. If everything
this is better because you know what's crazy about the hot anime mommies? You can fucking date them. In this game, you can actually date them. What? Woohoo! Behold, I was like, nah, y'all just friends. Even though y'all went on that date, and y'all basically got to the point of, you know, and everybody just happens to love you. It's literally, I'm starting to realize why I don't like about gacha games, bro. They feel so much like isekais. And if you don't know anything about me and isekai, I hate that genre with a fucking passion. There's like 4 I can think of that I like. I hate that genre so much. And because it's just blatantly catering to fucking people that want a very specific life that you're just not gonna get. And if you do get that life, you're gonna have to be Drake. It's pretty much for people that wants to be Drake. But even Drake had to have talent. So a lot of you motherfuckers don't have talent. They just get somewhere. They're the underdog. They're the lame guy. But in this world, you're a cool guy with all the goddamn bad bitches that just happen to love you and wants your seeds. I'm like, oh no, keep going.
It so far isn't indicative enough for you. This is just me saying right out that Persona 5 will satisfy most of the cravings this game provides. If you want the social sim elements without all the needlessly grindy, busy work and the great story to make it a nice, neat package, it's right there waiting for you. And as for great character action games, if you thought the action in this game was great, check out Metal Gear Rising Revengeance or Nier Automata. I promise you
this game was hated. I don't understand where the love came from. I don't know what I missed. I've never been a Metal Gear fan. But Revengeance just got a lot of love in recent years.
Be disappointed by either of those. Or if you really want that gacha experience without being heckled to continue spending all of your money, Xenoblade 2 gives you the character pulling experience you crave without spending a dime past the initial purchase. Zenless Zone Zero, with all of the resources and money poured into it, is nothing but a pretty face with no personality to speak of. It is the master of none. It's an exploitative...
I do want to see a game really do that. I gotta understand how that game does it, but I want to see a game really explore having a gacha, but it doesn't. It's not free to play. It's a paid game, $60-$70, whatever it is, but it has a gacha in it. But the gacha actually gives you characters. I want to see how that goes. That's what you sound like he said Xenoblade did. I never played. Actually, I played like 5 minutes of the first Xenoblade.
Piece of media that doesn't want you playing, it wants you spending. And when there are so many other games out on the market that do everything it does but better, I see no reason to play it today. I do not recommend you, or anyone for that matter, play Zenless Zone Zero. If you respect your time and your wallet, there are other games that are much more deserving of your investment. So go out and play those games instead. And if you already played them, play them again. That's better than getting tied up in a predatory mobile game. But that's just what I think. Let me know what you think about Zenless Zone Zero in the comment section below. Have you been playing it? Did you feel the same way about it? And while you're down there, maybe click the like and subscribe buttons. They help spread the video to even more people and help the conversation continue. And if you really like what you saw and want to support me even further, you can become a channel member down below as well to have your name featured in the video. Any support means the world to me and helps me continue doing this as a hobby. My next video will be a deep dive into the disgusting evolution of microtransactions.
Yo, I don't know I don't think I'm ever be able to react to that video. I don't know if I have the stamina. With the way I be pausing stuff, because I like my reaction. When I do reactions, I don't want to be one of those people that just sit there and watch it, which is why I pause so much. And I do have a lot of things to say on a lot of these subjects. But, bro, nah, I can't watch that. That video was like an hour 17 minutes or something like that. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do that. This was 32 minutes, and this video, when it goes on YouTube, the reaction is gonna be over an hour most likely.
Topic that is constantly evolving with news dropping seemingly every day, so it'll take me some time to put together, but please look forward to it. And as always, this has been Testing Triangles. Thanks for watching.
Alright, this was a really good video, but yeah, if y'all wanna, I thought I was a subscriber. I thought I'd been subscribed to him. I did, okay. But I'm gonna say y'all need to go check this video, bro. Not even check the video, check his channel. I'll drop the link obviously in the description when I go on YouTube and all of that. But y'all need to watch this guy because he makes some good content actually. I'll show you real quick. Yeah, he did the autopsy. Obviously, everybody has a Concord video, so there's that. Everybody has one or two Concord videos. He doesn't have much videos, but he puts an effort on his videos. I think, this is my favorite video of his. Live service needs to go. This is the first video I've seen of his, but I would say check him out. He doesn't upload very often. It's like once a month on average for the looks of things. But when he does upload, it's usually some quality stuff. Like, I want to watch this one at some point, but I don't know enough about this game. Maybe I will at some point, I don't know. But that's going to be it for me. If y'all enjoyed this video, like, sub, all that good stuff. Remember to come out and check out Testing Triangles. His link's going to be in the description. And the link to the video itself is going to be in the description. But that's it for me. True Kingston, and we out.